Good morning, good morning, good morning. Will you please take your seats? We're about to get started. Thank you so much. Thank you. Once again, we would like to welcome you to this historical event this morning where we're celebrating once again our breakfast, where we're awarding so many. On behalf of the National Action Network and our leader, Reverend Sharpton, our chairman, Franklin Richardson, let's give them a hand. It is here in this moment that we continue not just to live out the dream, but to advance the dream. And so we truly want to welcome you to this historical event. And for all of the sponsors, all of the awardees, we want to say thank you. Will you do me a favor and bow your heads in a moment of prayer? Gracious Father, the eternal, the giver of life and of death, the one that sits high and look low, we thank you for this occasion once again that you've allowed us to come together, our leader, Martin Luther King Jr. III and his family, and all of those who've gathered together throughout the country to continue to do what you've called us to do. We pray, Lord God, that this day would be a day that you would be horrified and our enemy would be terrified. Bless our food, and as always, I thank you, God, because I know you hear me when I pray. In Jesus' name, amen. Clap your hands all over the building. We're now going to be blessed by musical selection by Lifting Up Every Voice by Damian Shear. He's known for his incredible work in the gospel, jazz, classical music. Damian has worked with legends like Aretha Franklin, the Clark Sisters, Wilson Marcel. He also tendered professor at Howard University. Will you put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, and let's give it up for Damian Shear.
Dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun. Let us march on till victory is won. Is won.
In 1929, a child was born who would one day awaken the conscience of a nation. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. did not inherit a world ready for justice. He inherited a world resistant to it. Yet through faith and fearless leadership, he transformed struggle into strength and vision into movement.
Yes, we're on the move and no wave of racism can stop us. Yes, sir. The burning of our churches will not deter us. Yes, sir. The bombing of our homes will not dissuade us. Yes, sir. The beating and killing of our clergymen and young people will not divert us. Yes, sir. The wanton release of their known murderers will not discourage us. We're on the move now. Yes, sir. Like an idea whose time has come. Yes, sir. Not even the marching of mighty armies can halt us. Yes, sir. We're moving to the land of freedom. Yes, sir.
His dream was never meant to live in history books. It was meant to live through us. And today, that vision still lives. It lives through leadership that refuses to be silent, and through those entrusted with carrying the legacy forward through the moral leadership of Reverend Al Sharpton and the continued stewardship of Martin Luther King III, ensuring that Dr. King's dream remains a mandate, not a memory. Through National Action Network, that vision remains active, organizing in the streets, advocating in the halls of power, and confronting injustice wherever it exists. Last year, on Dr. King's Day, we stood together and made a vow to keep alive everything Dr. King stood for, not just in word, but in action. We marched, we gathered, and we recommitted ourselves to the work. Since then, the movement has not paused from the National Action Network Convention, where leaders came together to organize and build power, to the Keepers of the Dream Gala, an event established in the name of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., to honor those who actively protect, advance, and live out his vision of justice, equality, and service. It is especially meaningful to remember that Mrs. Coretta Scott King was honored at the very first Keepers of the Dream Gala.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
And she did more than honor the dream she protected. At the 2000 March on Washington, Mrs. Coretta Scott King charged Martin Luther King III and Reverend Al Sharpton with the responsibility of carrying forward Dr. King's vision, ensuring that the movement would remain alive, relevant, and unafraid.
And to see them today here warms my heart, because indeed the future of our leadership is in good hands, especially with all the others who are here in support of them. And I want to ask first that Martin Luther King III come forth, and then Reverend Al Sharpton. These young men have done an outstanding job, and we need to continue to support them. I will be there with them, even though I may not be able to walk all the way, but if I have to go in the wheelchair, that'll be all right too. I'll be there. Thank you. God bless you.
And 25 years later, they still stand together. On the 28th of August, 2025, Reverend Al Sharpton and Martin Luther King III stood side by side once again, not by coincidence, but by calling, on a date forever tied to the legacy of Dr. Keep the dream. Wall Street represents, and too often, unchecked inequality. Accountability exists wherever. King taught us that the moral arc of the universe is long, but it does not bend on its own. It bends when people are willing to pull it. And we are still pulling, still standing, still holding up the dream, because the work is not finished and the dream still demands defenders. He is a tireless civil rights leader, a fearless voice for justice, and the president and founder of the National Action Network, which proudly marks its 35th anniversary of fighting for justice, equality, and accountability. Please welcome Reverend Al Sharpton.
Good morning. Oh, that sounded like 2025. I said good morning. Wonderful. Well, I'm clearly not Reverend Al Sharpton, but my name is Ebony Riley. I serve as the Senior Vice President, thank you, for National Action Network. I also lead our Washington, D.C. Bureau. Before we begin, I want to express gratitude to our volunteers, all the young people in the room. Are you here? Can you raise your hands, young people? There you go. Thank you so much for being here. Our founder didn't just join the movement. He was a young man who was a wonder boy preacher, preaching the word before he was even old enough to read or write. By the time he was a teenager, he was standing in the shadows of giants as the youth director for Dr. King's Operation Breadbasket. For over 50 years, he has remained on the front lines. The world knows him for speaking truth to power on the global stage. But we know the man who was the first one on the phone when a family's hurting. We know he's the last one to leave a strategy meeting when the night is long. He reminds us every single day that progress isn't a miracle, it's a mandate. In this moment of 2026, when our country faces such darkness, he continues to provide the light. Please, please, please get on your feet and help me welcome my mentor, my leader, our leader, and founder of the National Action Network, the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you very much, and certainly we are honored to have all of you join us on this King holiday. And certainly give a big hand. We are blessed to have someone who has committed their life at such a young age and do such an excellent job, our Senior Vice President, Ebony Riley. I want to acknowledge Reverend Steffi Bodley, who opened up this morning, our regional director, who did our prayer and invocation, and members of our board that are here, national board, Tanya Lombard. Give Tanya a hand, member of our national board. Bishop Donald Hilliard is in the house of our national board, and certainly Commissioner Rodney Ellis from Houston, Texas on our national board. Our leadership locally and in this region, NIA 2X, Senator Larry Young, the godfather of Maryland, Bishop Michael Watson, and Dr. Stephanie Popular. I want to acknowledge also Zach Carter, who was a U.S. attorney in New York and did a lot around our getting some civil rights bills there. Melanie Campbell, President and CEO, National Coalition of Black. Janet McGeer, my sister in the struggle, President and CEO of UNIDOS. Leah Daughtry, is Leah here yet? Leah's in the house. Min Young Moore and Yolanda Caraway. And I also want to acknowledge Congressman Glenn Ivey. And the congressman, I always tease him when he was president, Martin, of the NAACP back in my controversial day when I was fat. He gave me the President's Award, and they almost voted him out as president then. Congressman Kwesi Mfume. As we look today on King Day, let us not forget that we had to struggle to even have this day. They did not wake up one morning and say, let's give a federal holiday to Martin Luther King. People petitioned, people marched. Mrs. Coretta Scott King, who never has gotten the credit she deserves in being the force behind this movement. Congressman John Conyers, Stevie Wonder, and others. And Ronald Reagan, who had called Martin Luther King a communist, ended up being the president that had to sign the bill for Martin Luther King's federal holiday. The reason why we know struggle works is this holiday is a result of struggle, signed by a president that never thought it would be. Let us remember now, as we bring our children and grandchildren up the Potomac, that they can see the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, and one memorial that never served as president, but changed this country more than any other American, Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. But we gather this morning because everything Dr. King stood for is at risk. As we speak, we're waiting to see what the Supreme Court will do with Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, one of the major achievements of the King movement. As we speak this morning, this sitting president has declared war on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is the core of the Civil Rights Act of '64. We are under attack, and we should not be taking this as a day off. This is a day on to fight to keep what was maintained. To see, I remember 6 years ago, Martin III and I were in Minneapolis leading the marches around George Floyd. I did the eulogy at his funeral. 6 years later, we see a white female, unarmed, killed in Minneapolis. We see people being racially profiled. We see that there are those that would want this to be the last federal holiday named after King. Don't you be deceived. This sitting president and his cohorts would want to end Martin Luther King Day. But just like we will not let them end this day, we will not let them end voting rights and Civil Rights Act and DEI. It's not enough to remember and honor the dreamer and let them kill the dream. And that's why National Action Network has every year started in Washington, D.C. with this breakfast, and then we go to New York with our public policy forum. And every year we try to set an agenda and go into April. We always have our national convention in April, which is the month Dr. King was killed, to say that they killed the dreamer, not the dream, and those of us that come out of that movement is going to continue to fight. This April will be our National Action Network is 35 years old in this April at our convention. One of the things, though, we've been most proud of is to try to keep the assignment that we were given. As I said, Mrs. Coretta Scott King never got the credit she was due. She's the matriarch of this movement. You must know that Dr. King was in Boston, had graduated Morehouse College, 19 years old, went to Boston University, an Ivy League school at a time many blacks couldn't get in them. Met a young lady who was in conservatories, going to be an opera singer from Marion, Alabama, Coretta Scott King. They decided to go back south, A lot of blacks that went north and had their upper movement never wanted to go back south. But for whatever reason, Dr. King wanted to go back south. And Mrs. King stood right with him and went to Alabama and ran into history. It is always those that accept the calling that change history. And we should never forget the sacrifice made of Dr. Martin and Mrs. Coretta Scott King, because they did not have to go and lead a boycott. They were Boston University Conservatory graduates. They chose to fight. And when it fell their lot, they kept fighting. And even after Dr. King was assassinated, she kept the movement going. Martin III bonded me and his mother, and she used to reprimand me. Al, you got to be careful with your language. Al, I know you up north, but do this, that, and other. She got on me about being not only in the tradition in your actions, because we always was there, but even in your rhetoric. And it was because of that it meant so much. For the last 30 years, Martin and I have walked step by step together because we had that bond. And I felt that Mrs. King gave us that. He has kept this dream alive all over the world. He has worked with the offsprings of Mahatma Gandhi to keep this tradition going. But I thought I knew a lot about how God operates because I've been preaching since I was a little boy. So I thought I'd never see another person in the spirit of Coretta Scott King. But Andrea Waters King walks and talks and operates in the spirit of Mrs. Because sometimes I turn around and think Mrs. King is back. She is more adamant. When Martin and I are saying, well, I don't know about this, she gets us on the Zoom and zooms us up. Say, no, y'all got to do this and this way. So I want to bring, before we start the awards, to the stage the heirs of Dr. Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott King, Andrea Waters King and Martin Luther King III.
History is often told as
Let me play this video as they come to the stage.
of where we are going. Today we are joined. History is often told as a story of where we've been, but true legacy is the map of where we are going. Today we are joined by the architects of a movement leaders who have taken a global inheritance and forged it into a daily mandate for change. Please join me in welcoming the chairman of the Drum Major Institute, Martin Luther King III, and the president of the Drum Major Institute, Andrea Waters King. Together, they lead the Realize the Dream initiative, a global call to service and justice. They remind us that in 1963, it took only 16 minutes to ignite a dream that still burns today. History was made in 16 minutes. Now, they are asking each of us, how will you make yours count? Please turn your attention to the screen.
I have a dream. Everybody can be great because anybody can serve.
They say change takes time. But what if it only took 16 minutes? How would you make it count?
In 1963, a brave man spoke before a nation, and in just 16 minutes, he ignited a dream that still burns. 16 minutes. That's all it takes to inspire minds, to move communities,
to listen, to love, to grow, to make the dream a reality. We're on a mission to inspire 100 million hours of service by Martin Luther King Jr.'s 100th birthday.
16 minutes is all it takes to start, to see how you can make it count.
Martin and Andrea Waters King.
Guess you would like me to go first, honey. Good morning. Happy King Day.
You know, I have to be honest, this particular year has felt very heavy. And we were doing countless interviews and media yesterday and trying to continue to talk about the state of the dream and our nation and our world. And we paused in the midst of our schedule and we went down to the King Memorial. And what greeted us there as we were there to lay a wreath and have moments of quiet reflection and rededication were hundreds of everyday Americans, black, white, Asian, young, old, just standing out in the cold, themselves wanting to be a part and to reaffirm their belief in the dream and the work of Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King. And when we got back to the hotel, I was reflecting and thinking, what is it that motivated hundreds to gather in the cold at the King Memorial? What is it that is fueling monks to humbly walk from Texas to DC? One of them losing a leg already in the process. He literally had his leg amputated. And every step along the way, more and more people are joining them. Thousands at this point, at every stop. What caused Renee Good to stop on that cold winter morning? And what is fueling people to come out of their safe, warm homes to stand with the immigrant community in her honor? What is it, you ask? I say that is love. As Dr. King reminded us when he talked about love, that he's speaking of that force which all the great religions have seen as the supreme unifying force and principle of life. And let us not forget that loving in the face of hatred is a revolutionary act. We've been reading and watching a lot of Howard Thurman in our home these past few months, and one of the things that Martin was reminding Yolanda and I is that his father, on all his travels, he took, of course, his travel Bible and also a book from Howard Thurman, Jesus and the Disinherited. So we, as a family, have been rereading, Martin, Yolanda, and I, Jesus and the Disinherited. And I wanted to remind you today that Jesus taught that love, honesty, and inner freedom are the ways to resist oppression without becoming bitter or violent. And at its heart, Jesus and the Disinherited teaches us that love is not weakness. It is a form of power that helps people reclaim their humanity and work for justice, all while keeping their souls intact. Love requires and demands endurance, and that's something that women are particularly and uniquely qualified for. After the wonderful moment of creation, it is in our bodies that house a baby for 9, maybe 10 months. Our daughter used to come up to me and pat my stomach and said, "This is my first condo." And then after that baby is born, it is at our breast that we nurture that child. And then you would think that we would be done. But then we send the child out into the world. And then they continue to grow and they go off to college, like our daughter will be doing in the fall. And you still think that it's over, but then Rachel, we become grandparents. So women, we truly understand at our core the endurance that love requires. And therefore, we understand at our core the endurance that democracy requires. Because True queens don't look away when the average woman does. They confront injustice with love. Love teaches us to separate the evil act from the individual. And I find it freeing that Dr. King told us that he's glad that the Bible didn't say to like your enemies, because he went on to say there's some people that we just won't like. And I personally can understand that. You know, I'm not gonna like the people that are coming and removing parents from their children. Okay. I'm not gonna like the people that mows down an innocent, unarmed woman. I can't like the people that are attacking civil rights and DEI. I can't like the people that are stirring the waters of hate and division in this country. But yes, we're called to be about the unfinished business of Martin Luther King Jr. And while doing so, we must also remember that we must never, ever become like that which we are fighting against. And as we're going back out into our communities today and tomorrow, I want each of us to remember that, like one of my favorite gospel songs say, we may rock, we may wail, but we won't fall and we won't fail. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Outstanding, honey. I don't even need to say anything. I just need to go sit down. But I'm going to say one thing I want you to think about on this holiday that Rev has already said it, as others. It feels as if as we make progress, there are always some who are attempting to turn the clock back. And one of the things we did today, one of my board members, a couple of our board members are here from DMI. Board member Norm Ornstein and I today are featured in the New York Times on a piece about the Voting Rights Act in Section 2. So I hope you'll at least read it and then engage in action. You say, well, we can't change the Supreme Court. Well, you know, the Supreme Court changed its mind throughout the modern civil rights movement. So we don't need to just give up, give out, or give in. And so I want to encourage you to do that. But then I want to, as we go through this day and throughout the year, there are many battles that we're going to have to continue to battle. When you got to make a decision. My dad would say something like, you must decide if you're going to be like a thermometer or a thermostat. And you look at that analogy. A thermometer is a great device, but basically it just records the temperature. A thermostat is the regulating device. If it's too hot, you turn it down. If it's too cold, you turn it up. We must decide whether we're going to be thermometers or thermostats, whether we're going to record what happens or we're going to regulate what happens in our society. Regulation is the engagement that we do each and every day. Regulation is standing up for justice and righteousness and truth, but also knowing that we can and we will prevail if we engage. So we can't get tired. Some of us probably are, and some of us may be very comfortable because some of us has made a lot of money, and that's great. I want people to make as much money as they can. But we can never, ever forget where we came from. And so I'll say, I got to applaud Rev because I don't know how he does it. I do a few things when I can. But Rev's going to New York shortly. We're going back to Atlanta shortly. There's a lot of things we got to do today. But Rev, I must always applaud. I appreciate you. I don't make this a little personal because my mother taught us not to operate in credit. But, you know, everybody appreciates being appreciated, right? So I appreciate Rev acknowledging my mom. You know, I've lived a long time without her and a much longer time without Dad. But I'm thankful for what they did, and I'm thankful for what each of us are doing. And so I say finally to the honorees today, congratulations. We appreciate all of you. We're going to work together to ultimately realize the dream of Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King. And the dream is for all people. Thank you, and God bless you.
Martin Luther King III, Andrea Waters King. Give them both a hand. They're going to stay with me to present the awards, and we invited you to breakfast, not lunch. This is not going to be a long thing. I must acknowledge in the audience is former U.S. Senator LaFonza Butler's in the house. Former mayor of Baltimore, Maryland, Stephanie Rawlings Blake is in the house. And the mother of the governor of Maryland is in the house. Joyce Moore is in the house. And the chairman of the Democratic National Committee, and he has been one that from day one, I think the first day he went in, he reached out and has followed up with us, and I find him to be a sincere, because I've had some chairmen that I've met with and some chairmen I marched on. And some chairmen I met and marched. But he has shown that he really wants to see this country go the right way. Give a hand to Chairman Ken Martin. Let me start with the first award, a young man that in many ways represents what we are trying to do and be in National Action Network. Eric Carpenter Grantham says that justice requires innovation and new voices. Our first honoree is proof of that. When we empower our own, we change the world. Let's look at the work of Eric.
Most people spend their lives trying to fit in, but Eric Blessed Carpenter Grantham was created to stand out. This is Eric's ID. A landmark law that placed a silent but powerful butterfly on state documents, a vital voice for those with hidden disabilities. It identifies drivers with autism, hearing loss, or mental health conditions, ensuring safety and understanding during every police interaction. But Maryland was just the beginning. From the stage of The View, Eric is now leading a national movement to expand this law to all 50 states. A heart bypass survivor and high honors graduate, Eric has turned a journey of resilience into a historic legacy of public service. For his courage to make the invisible visible and his commitment to the dream of equality, please welcome the recipient of the 2026 MLK Day Youth Award, Eric Blessed Carpenter Grantham.
Good morning. Thank you, Reverend Al Sharpton, the National Action Network Board of Directors, and Mr. and Mrs. King for this wonderful opportunity. I am Linda Carpenter Grantham, the mother of this amazing 21-year-old young man. Eric is highly functioning autistic, and after having a conversation with him when Mr. George Floyd was killed, I realized I have an African-American son with an invisible disability. Should he be stopped by law enforcement, that could be very concerning. So I had a conversation with Eric to stay safe. I said, put your hands up, don't reach for your phone, Yell out, I have autism, yell out, someone call my mom, and yell out my number. Eric started to cry. He said, Mom, I could do that, but the police might shoot my friends that have autism because we're all different on the spectrum. Some of them have ADHD, they won't keep still. Some of them have sensory. I'm scared for them. So he said, Mom, we gotta do something, and we gotta do something now, while he was crying. I said, okay, let's think it through. So he came to me a little later. He said, Mom, I would like to put something on the IDs that would let the police know that me and my friends have autism so we can stay safe. Eric loves God and he loves politics. He said, Mom, can you take me to Congress? I'd like to have a conversation. He said, I'd like to have a conversation with the House Speaker so me and my friends can be safe if we get stopped by police. I said, Eric, I'm so proud of you. I'm going to do my best to get you there. Well, we had a meeting with Senator Will C. Smith, Delegate Janelle Wilkins, and Delegate Kim Taylor. Senator Will C. Smith sponsored the bill. The bill didn't move the first round because of opposition. We had opposition from people who are not of color trying to stop this law. We went through quite a bit. But after being invited on The View with Ms. Whoopi Goldberg and the Sherry Shepherd Show, where we received millions of views and comments, to make this a national law, we have started moving this law. The law became obtainable October the 1st. Thank God for Governor Westmore. He wrote that bill into law. Now we are in the process of moving this law to state by state. We now have Delaware, Georgia, New York, and Pennsylvania who have written the drafts for Eric's ID law. We would appreciate your help. We need your help to move this law worldwide. So many people need this butterfly to stay safe should they be stopped by law enforcement for all hidden disabilities. It's not a black law or white law, it's a law to save lives. And we would appreciate your help and support to help us make this a worldwide law. Thank you so much. And the last thing I'd like to say to my beautiful son is, he says, I can't believe I'm here in this room. Believe it, because you deserve to be here in other rooms like this. You are great. And we thank God for Dr. Martin Luther King. It's because of him that my son can be here today. Thank you, Dr. Martin Luther King and your family. Thank you, Reverend Al Sharpton.
Our next honoree is a particular honoree who has put in policy and action what people fought and died to get people that were elected that represents not only our community but the best in all communities. This young man came in as mayor of Baltimore and lowered the gun violence, lowered the crime, delivered for his constituents, and has become a national symbol of what we could do if we put our best in our best. And we're proud to give the award today to the mayor of Baltimore, Maryland, Mayor Brandon Scott. Let's look. Before we give him his award, watch the video.
Before becoming the youngest mayor in Vision begins with service. Before becoming the youngest mayor in over a century, Brandon Scott served 8 years on the city council, eventually becoming its unanimously elected president. In November 2024, he made history as the first Baltimore mayor in 20 years to win re-election. A mandate to continue a historic transformation that saw homicides drop by 20%, the largest annual decline in the city's history. He tackled the skyline with results, delivering an 18% decrease in vacant properties, hitting a 2-decade low. Under his leadership, Baltimore achieved the lowest unemployment rate in city history. As a trailblazing leader and co-chair of mayors against illegal guns, he remains the authentic, straightforward son of Baltimore who leads with the city's heart and soul, a husband, a father, and a champion for equity. He is building a Baltimore where every neighborhood is revitalized and every child's potential is a priority. National Action Network is proud to honor the 52nd mayor of Baltimore, the Honorable Brandon M. Scott, with this year's MLK Day Visionary Review.
Good morning, everybody. Governor Westmore, and as a former honoree of the National Action Network's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Breakfast, I want to begin by recognizing the leadership of this great organization. My guy, Reverend Sharpton, you're one of a kind. You've dedicated your life to safeguarding and advancing Dr. King's legacy, and I couldn't be more grateful for the way that you have blessed the lives of so many, including mine. I also want to thank Ebony Riley and her team, and Andrea Waters King, and the entire King family. Your work continues to shape national conversations about equity and justice, and you inspire so many to pursue their own path in public service. And finally, I am thrilled to congratulate today's Visionary Award recipient, my guy, Mayor Brandon Scott. Mr. Mayor, you deserve this honor. Your leadership is turning your vision for Baltimore into a Baltimore where we can all thrive, helping to drive down historic lows in crime. A Baltimore that has one of the fastest growing economies in the country. You've been an incredible partner in this work, my man. A strong leader for the city, and most importantly, a devoted friend and father. So congratulations, Brandon. And thank you to everyone here who is working to strengthen our communities, to broaden opportunities, and most importantly, to serve the people.
Good morning, everyone. All right, I'm from Baltimore. Good morning, everyone. That's more like it. That's more like it. I am Brandon Scott, the DEI duly elected incumbent mayor of Baltimore City. I want to thank Reverend Sharpton, the entire King family, the entire board of directors for the National Action Network for inviting me and giving me this great honor. It is an honor to be here representing the people of the best city in America, Charm City. I stand on this stage on the shoulders of giants from Baltimore. Baltimore heroes like the man who gave me my voice, my congressman now and forever, Congressman Kwesi Mfume. My big sister and mentor, Mayor Stephanie Rawlins Blake. Lily Curl Jackson, Clarence Mitchell, Congressman Elijah Cummings, and a young man by the name of Thurgood Marshall. I stand here today representing my ancestors, pig farmers from rural North Carolina, and Virginians who came to Baltimore during the Great Migration. My city, Reverend Sharpton, gave me the opportunity to be the wildest dreams of those who came before me. But it was also home to decades of intentional disinvestment in black communities. The first racial redlining law was signed at the desk that I sit at every single day. And zero tolerance policing, which never made Baltimore any safer. For 18 of the 41 years that I've been on this earth, Baltimore lost more than 300 people to homicide. 300 loved ones, friends, neighbors, aunts, uncles, kids, and grandkids, and countless others traumatized and communities left in deep trauma. For me, I witnessed my first shooting before I was 10 years old. It's actually why I decided at the age of 7 that I wanted to be the mayor of Baltimore City. So when I took office, I said that we were going to do things a little differently with that history in my mind and in my heart. Instead of returning to the broken policies of the past, we're getting at the root cause of this disease known as gun violence. We're working with folks who used to inflict harm to prevent harm, because we know that those who are closest to the problem are closest to the solution. We're going after gun companies, gun stores, and anybody who is using or pushing weapons onto the streets of Baltimore. But we're also investing in communities, building new schools, rec centers, libraries, and job training programs. So after years, and I do mean years, of 300 plus homicides, we had 133 in 2025. But don't clap, because one life is one too many. Yes, homicides are down 59% over the last 5 years, and non-fatal shootings are down 57%. But there is much more work to do. We have to not just double up, but triple up on the strategies that are working. And it's especially important for us to keep pushing at the local level, because we know that this federal government will like nothing more than to see us fail. Family, we have to recognize the moment that we're in right now. On this King Day, we have to understand that it's no longer a question of whether the house is burning or not. Anyone who is not sleep or sheep can see the flames. The soul of our democracy is being gunned second by second. The only question that remains is who will put out the flames? Who will be the firefighters? And it has to be us. It was our people who fought and died for civil rights, women's rights, and voting rights. And as we often have to remind them, it was our people who built this nation for the price of free 99 that enabled something known as the American dream to even exist. Working in these times is what Dr. King meant when he spoke about midnight in the moral order. We know that there will be harder days ahead, both for the cause and for each of every one of us as individuals. We have to recognize that the outcome of our work may be grim for us personally, but is it worth it? It will be worth it for us as a whole. We have to remember that many folks turned on Dr. King immediately prior to his death because of who and what he was fighting for and how he was fighting for it. We know that those willing to do the righteous work are also willing to do the unpopular work. Now is not the time for infighting or finger pointing. We cannot let them turn us against one another. We know better. Those of us who know our history see, as Dr. King did, that we are the most powerful when we are united. That's not always easy. Unity requires compassion, it requires humility, and it requires courage. But it is worth it to protect everything those who came before us fought and died for. So as I stand here today representing my city, my heroes, and my ancestors, as we face midnight in the moral order, I remember the words of Dr. King. Stand still to fight on. There is balm in Gilead. Morning will come. Thank you very much.
Our next honoree is a man that not only made history, but changed history. I've known him over 30 years as he was a pioneering civil rights attorney and came in the generation that immediately followed the tumultuous 60s. He grew up in it and became an attorney that wanted to make law and permanent what they had been fighting for. His wife was one of those that faced the door being shut from those that would go to schools in the South. And they are coming together. His wife and him had a commitment that no matter how high he went in his profession, he never forgot where he came from. I remember that in many days that people would not want people like me in the room. He said, no, you need to listen to them. But it was more than him letting us in the room. He fought for what we believed in when we left the room. And I'm honored that he would take time to be honored by us, because he's truly a historic figure. He is the first black Attorney General of these United States. He's the And when Martin III and I led that march on racial profiling, and the president had left the country the day before, and Janet Reno was the Attorney General. The Assistant Attorney General in the room was Eric Holder. And when we were talking about racial profiling, and some in the Justice Department was saying it's being blown out of proportion, it was Eric Holder that said, you need to listen to them. They are stopping people based on their skin. So I'm telling you that I'm talking about someone that I've seen in the room. A lot of folk get in position, Kwaisi, and something happens when they walk through that door to West Wing and they get Negro amnesia. Just something just happens. But he never came down with that. And it is for that I want to honor him. I had a celebrity, very well-known person that he helped that couldn't be here this morning to help me give the award, so they sent a video. Play the video.
Good morning, everybody. I hope the coffee has kicked in by now. I want to start by thanking your leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton, and everyone at the National Action Network for 35 years of standing up for civil rights and opportunity for everyone. You reminded us that change doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen, as long as we don't give away our power. I also want to recognize my friends, Martin Luther King III and Andrea Waters King, who continue to be such an important part of this movement. Finally, I want to congratulate another great friend, Eric Holder, on this well-deserved honor. Eric was obviously an outstanding Attorney General, and after the career he's had, he could have easily decided to ride off into the sunset. Sometimes I think that his wife Sharon wishes he had, but that's not who Eric is. Instead, over the last decade, he's built the National Democratic Redistricting Committee into a leading force in the fight against gerrymandering. And thanks to them, we've been able to push back some of the worst attempts to undermine our elections. It speaks to Eric's love of country, but also his recognition of how important this work is. He understands that our democracy isn't self-executing. We have to fight for it each and every day. And that's going to be especially true as we head into the midterms later this year. So, thanks to Eric and his team for doing everything they can to put our elections on a level playing field. And thanks to all of you for helping people recognize their own power and put it to good use. Take care, everybody, and God bless.
Let us honor the Honorable Eric Holder.
Oh, I got to get the hardware. Good morning. I want to thank both Martin Luther King Jr., Martin Luther King III, and Andrea Waters King for your leadership in bringing us all together this morning. Your father would have turned, I guess I'm not great at math, but 97 years old this week. And I cannot help but wonder how this country might be different if he had not been robbed of decades of his leadership and even greater amounts of wisdom he might have offered us over these lost years, his lost years. And I also want to thank my friend and fellow New Yorker, Reverend Al Sharpton, and the National Action Network for this award. It is humbling to accept it while we are gathered here to celebrate the life and enduring legacy of one of my idols. You know, today we honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and we reflect on his legacy of principled and powerful resistance, the man who ripped down a system of American apartheid. I'm also reflecting today on Dr. King's abilities to speak plainly about injustice and who fearlessly confronted the forces that stood in the way of freedom while really never losing his belief in the American people's ability to walk together toward the promised land. Our current moment demands such clarity as well as such fearlessness. Now, the forces reshaping our country are testing not only our institutions, but our collective and individual capacity to defend the ideals of this nation. And these actions require from all of us, a clarity of purpose that is equal to the rising stakes. We are seeing a sustained effort to eradicate the Voting Rights Act. That is the crown jewel. That's the crown jewel of the civil rights movement and an essential part of Dr. King's legacy. We are witnessing the weaponization of the Department of Justice by the president and his lackeys to silence his critics and to intimidate voters. We're observing Gestapo tactics by federal immigration law enforcement in Minnesota, as well as around the country. You all remember the name Renee Good, and you say her name. You say her name. We are experiencing unprecedented mid-decade gerrymandering attempts designed to disproportionately disenfranchise black and brown voters as the president desperately clings to power like an insecure dictator. There is a concerted effort to resegregate America. But as dark as things may seem now, we must remember that every generation has been similarly tested. And each time, Americans faced really a critical question. Do we sit back and hope that help comes along, or do we stand together and fight for what we believe in? Now, I know the scale of what we're up against can seem overwhelming. State-sponsored attempts at oppression always appear that way. Think about Jim Clark. Think about Bull Connor. Think about Ross Barnett. Think about George Wallace. State attempts at oppression always appear overwhelming. And it's only human to hope for someone else to step in, to pray for a miracle, or to pray for a savior, to look to the horizon hoping to see the cavalry coming to the rescue. But here's the hard truth. There are no reinforcements on the way. There's no miraculous rescue that is coming. We are the cavalry. And Dr. King understood this acutely. Listen to his words. His words. Human progress is neither automatic nor inevitable. Even a casual look at history reveals that no social advance rolls in on the wheels of inevitability. Every step toward the goal of justice requires sacrifice, suffering, and struggle, the tireless exertions and passionate concern of dedicated individuals, unquote. Now, dedicated individuals like you, like each of us, have always carried this work forward. Democracy does not defend itself. As John Lewis told us in his last public statement, democracy is not a state, it is an act. From the fights for due process and equal treatment to the struggles for access to the ballot, it's been everyday Americans who ultimately have bent that arc of the moral universe towards justice. Now, we owe a profound debt to Dr. King and the generations who sacrificed so much to secure these rights, and I hope that you'll join me in spending some time reflecting on those sacrifices today. But tomorrow, I hope you'll continue to honor them by picking up the torch that has been passed to all of us, by doing the work that we must do and carrying forward with the march they never had the chance to finish. Because we owe a similar debt to generations yet to come. We can only truly honor our black heroes and heroines of the past by ensuring that those who come after us will inherit an America truer to its promise as well as to its founding ideals. So don't be overwhelmed. Do not feel fatigued. I don't want to hear anybody say that they're tired. Do not capitulate. Do not collaborate. Always remember Dr. King's words, and most importantly, his actions that make clear that the one most important thing is we have within our grasp the ability to win this struggle for the soul of our nation. We have that capacity. We have that ability. We can win, and we must do so. Thank you very much for this honor.
Eric Holder. One of the last missions Dr. King took on was the fight for economic rights. Dr. King said that it was not enough to be able to integrate a coffee shop if we cannot also afford to buy the cup of coffee. It was not enough to say we can stay at any hotel if you couldn't pay the bill. So the economic empowerment of our community is as important or more than our social legislation. Some people became flashy and became showy in economics. And sometimes when you do that, you signal people to come after you to put you out of business. And then some people are just rock solid and build slowly, carefully, and solid. And we wanted to honor our economic development empowerment award to a woman that speaks softly but carries a big stick and has produced more businesses and children of those businesses than anyone we know. And we honor her today, and I want you to watch the video.
Sheila Johnson's journey through life has mirrored the civil rights movement. Born to a neurosurgeon barred from hospitals due to his race, she began her schooling before Brown v. Board of Education. In the Jim Crow South, she was once compelled by her parents to try to pass as white to attend a better school. An accomplished high school violinist, she became the first black student in state history to win an Illinois statewide violin competition. She made history again at the University of Illinois, becoming the university's first ever black cheerleader. After moving to Washington, D.C., she helped co-found the legendary Black Entertainment Television. She remained BET's soul and conscience, fighting for a platform that could serve as the voice for the young, hopeful, and ambitious. In Virginia's horse country, she launched a bold initiative named Salamander, after the only animal capable of walking through fire and living. As chairman and founder of the Salamander Collection, she has redefined luxury for travelers far and wide. She is a dreamer who has seen it all and continues to exercise the fundamental right to dream. Please join me in welcoming our host and the recipient of the MLK Day Trailblazer in Business and Social Impact Award, Miss Sheila Johnson.
Miss Sheila Johnson.
Well, I have to tell you, it's a real honor to have everyone out here sitting in my hotel. I just want to thank Al Sharpton for deciding to have this event here. Thank you so much. You know, there's so many honors based solely on the importance of the organization, awarding them the take on a weight and texture all their own. This is indeed one such honor, and I get a lot of honors. But when I received the letter asking if I could be honored today, I could not believe it. I literally just flew back from Italy. My son's a menswear designer, and his final show was yesterday. But I said, I have to get back to this. And he says, Mom, I understand. Because the National Action Network remains to this day one of the tireless advocates on behalf of the rights of men and women of color everywhere. This history of civil rights in this country, and certainly among our people, is long and powerful. But let's not kid ourselves. The real heavy lifting in this country was done by the generations that preceded us. It was through their blood, sweat, tears, and even lives that we, their sons and daughters, were able to reap the benefits. We rode on their shoulders. And this is the tough love part. A big part of me feels that so many of us, so many of the people of color, have been coasting ever since. Now, don't get me wrong. People like the Reverend and the National Action Network have continued to fight the good fight. But there are a lot of us out there, a lot of us, who simply have taken these rights we enjoy for granted, while at the same time adopting this nagging sort of collective forgetfulness of just how much others once gave. And in many instances, do so just a few decades ago. And as a result, so many of those rights are now slipping through our fingers, and doing so in real time by the light of day and in the hands of our own government. It's gotten to the point that Black war heroes are now being officially stricken from the pages of history, while Black military leaders are being summarily shown the door. And these days we've seen the remaining Army bases after Confederate war heroes and generals are trying to convince our white brethren that if slavery existed at all, it was a good thing because it taught our shackled ancestors marketable job skills. So while I accept this gracious honor with gratitude and humility, I do so with my eyes wide open, my head clear, and my thoughts sober. Because as the Reverend and members of this network will tell you even now, the rights of folks who look like us are not like water in a bathtub. They're more like water in a metal bucket. A bucket with a big hole in the bottom, and a bucket that has to be constantly replenished or risk letting the whole thing run dry. It is now our job to keep this bucket full of water. So as you're sitting here in my hotel, I really want you to understand the meaning of the salamander. And as it was said in the video, it is the only animal that walk through fire and still come out alive. It stands for perseverance, courage, and fortitude. We all have got to become more vigilant. We have got to stand up for what is wrong and not be afraid to speak out. We have to continue to fight the fight, because when I built this company, you have no idea how long it took me. It started in 2005. 8 hotels later, 8. And really mentoring and bringing along really smart young people. We have got to reach out to this younger generation. I'm old, we're all getting old, but we've got to move aside and we need to bring and educate this younger generation, because otherwise we will not have a future. I'm just telling you this from experience. I have watched carefully over all of these years. I have always been quiet, haven't I, Donna Brazil? I just watch what's going on, but we have got to do better. And I really do mean this. But I just want to thank you all for this honor. Thank you all for being here. This means more than you can imagine. Thank you so much.
Come on, Sheila Johnson. Salamander. It don't get no better than that. This next award comes from the heart. And as I think of great women, often, and that was another thing Mrs. King used to always admonish us, is you've got to give women credit in the movement. And our movement, one that has really helped to shape and polish what we're about, is with me today. She plays behind the scenes, but she creates the scenes. Rachel Nordlinger, stand up, one of our outstanding entrepreneurs. One that's been like a niece or daughter to me, that has risen up from activism to being one of the great voices of our country now. Simone Sanders is in the house. Stand up. And I said, like a daughter to me. My daughter's with me. Ashley, stand up, head of our huddle group. But in the spirit of that, if one were to ask me of the top 5 women I've known, this next honoree would be in the 5. Why? Because I've seen her fight in the trenches. I've seen her argue when we may have been in the room arguing tactics, and she made all of us turn around and say, you know, what she's saying makes sense. We came in with one thought, and she turned it around. She's always been strategic and always been committed. And she would always, like your mother, she would correct me and then go in the room and fight for me to be in the room, because she has already straightened out what I should not say in the room. She has been that rock in a weary land, and it is really from our heart we honor this morning Donna Brazil. Watch the video.
A veteran political strategist and a pioneer in American governance, Donna Brazil has dedicated her career to the advancement of democracy. A visionary leader, she made history as the first African-American woman to serve as the manager of a major party presidential campaign. An Emmy and Peabody Award-winning media contributor, her authentic voice has made her one of the most respected figures in American public life. From serving as the chair of the DNC to leading the Voting Rights Institute, her work is defined by a steadfast commitment to the integrity of the political process. A prolific author and academic leader, she has lectured at hundreds of universities, mentoring the next generation of leaders in equity and civility. Whether in the halls of Congress or on the screen, her life's work remains a testament to the power of civic engagement. For her enduring legacy of leadership, we honor Donna Brazil with the MLK Day Legacy of Leadership and Civic Engagement Award.
Donna Brazil, y'all.
Well, it's hard for me to stand here without thinking of Coretta Scott King. She hired me. I don't even think I had a resume, but I was on a mission. On the night Dr. King was assassinated, my grandmother, she called us in the order of our birth: Cheryl, Sheila, Donna, Tati, Chet, Lisa, Demetri, Kevin, Ziola. Did I tell you we were Catholic? She said, come into this room. And Grandma Frances, who we thought knew Jesus personally, because she always said Lord. And it wasn't that stuff that put fat on our body. It was actually Jesus. We were raised as Christians. And she said we had to get on our knees and pray. And when she told us why we were praying, often we would pray to make sure our parents got home safely. I grew up in the segregated South, right outside my beloved hometown of New Orleans. Grandma wanted us to pray for Dr. King. She had hope that Dr. King would survive. She made us pray. And later that evening, when my mother and father came home and the news had finally hit, Dr. King was dead. She called us back in her room, this time to pray for Dr. King's family, his children, his wife, his entire family, his parents. But she also told us to pray for the man or the person who did this. And of course, growing up, they used to say Donna got the big mouth. I asked my grandmother why we had to pray for some white man who killed Dr. King. I was 8 years old. And I said, I'm not praying for no man who killed Dr. King. My grandmother shut me up, and she reminded me what was in the book of Matthew about loving one's enemies. I said, oh, I have to do that too? It was a night I would learn so much. And from that moment, I knew what I had to do. That calling came at an early age. I was 8 years old, and yet I told my mother I had to finish Dr. King's work. Now, I had no idea what the hell I was talking about. I told you I curse. Famous for it. I can string curse words together, make sentences out of curse words, and then go to church and ask for forgiveness. Come out and drink a glass of wine and curse some more. I got to LSU. Reverend, I just wanted to be a radical. And so I was put in charge of a committee to invite speakers. I invited everybody I could, everybody black. I told the folks at LSU, y'all invited all the white people, I'm gonna invite all the black people. All the black people I wanna get to know. And did I invite them? But one invitation that I extended to Ralph Abernathy changed my life forever. And that invitation was to come and speak to our entire student body. Reverend Abernathy said, he said, you're an organizer. I said, hell yeah, I am. I'm a good one too. And he said, well, why don't you come to Atlanta? It was 8 hours by car. I rented a car and got to Atlanta, met Mrs. King, and Mrs. King then said, when you get out of college, would you come to Washington, and will you help work on the King holiday? I said, oh, Lord. I told my mom I had other plans. I had a job in Cincinnati. I went to Washington, came here, and got involved. Marty, remember? Because when you worked for Coretta Scott King, you worked. Mrs. King worked you. She expected you to be on time, to write memos, to write reports, to follow up. And then she said, and Stevie Wonder and John Conyers and Katie Hall and members of the Black Caucus, we got to do this. And then she went to Eleanor Holmes Norton, God forbid, and Eleanor said, Mrs. King, have you lost your mind? You going to hire that young kid? And I had to look at Eleanor, cuss her out, and tell her, you were young when you worked for Fannie Lou Hamer, and you were young when you worked for Medgar Evers. Why are you going to stop me from working? '22, Marty remembers. They put me in charge. They said, organize the youth. I was so good at organizing young people, they had me organizing old people. It's hard for me to go to Union Station because every year I would go and I would show up with more envelopes and more petitions until we one day had 7 million petitions. We gave them to Tip O'Neill and he told Ronald Reagan it was over. We had enough petitions to make Dr. King's birthday a national holiday. I know that history because I lived it. I was part of that history, and I'm so grateful to God that Coretta Scott King saw in me what I knew I had in me, that I want to finish the dream. And so today, my friends, that dream is not finished. That dream lives in all of us, and none of us would be in this room had we not had the men and women of the civil rights movement who dared to make this journey possible. We must finish the work. No matter how hard it is, how long it takes, we need to convince the next generation this is their job to do as well. I tell my students, why you? Because there's no one better. And why now? Because tomorrow is not soon enough. We got this, folks. We are going to prevail. We're going to see water run down like righteousness. Don't make me start preaching. I love you all. But I wouldn't be here had it not been for that dreamer, had it not been for their sacrifices. I would not be here had it not been for men and women who believed in all of us. I'm so grateful that this is the day that we come together. Grateful to be among all of these wonderful honorees, to be in a room with so many distinguished Americans. But most of all, I'm grateful that we're going to continue this struggle, and we're never going to grow weary or tired in doing good, because we know we'll reap a harvest if we don't give up. God bless you all, and thank you, Nan. Thank you, Reverend Sharpton. Thank you to the sponsors. God bless you.
Come on. Reverend Donna Brazil. I'm going to ask our vice chair to come and help present our last award for the person that has really been in the trenches and opened a lot of doors for us. And then she will call on those who are dismissed. Those that are going to New York with me, let's get ready. I got to catch this plane. I preach about man that has wings like an angel, but I don't have none. I got to catch so we can do our King Day. But I want this last award, Ebony Riley, who's proven leadership and vision. I want her to present one who has taken our Congressional Black Caucus into a new level of service. She doesn't like a lot of attention, but she's going to get it today because she deserves it. Because for these members of the caucus to have someone that's not trying to get in the way. You know, some folk work for you and get in the camera ahead of you and give out their name and caption before you can leave the room. But she's not like that. And she's earned our respect and honor. And Ebony's in that spirit. I want her to help the Kings and I to present our award. She has a video.
give a round of applause, please, before our principals depart to Reverend Al Sharpton and Andrea Waters King and Martin Luther King III. So, Nicole, we're going to have you come up and take your photo, and then I'm going to introduce you and play your intro video, and then give remarks. Yes, so please give a round of applause while we depart our principals from the stage.
To lead is to build bridges. To serve is to shift systems. Today, we honor a woman whose career has been a masterclass in both. As president and CEO of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, Nicole is expanding the pipeline for the next generation of leaders and connecting the private, public, and corporate sectors to empower Black communities worldwide, and carrying the legacy of the Foundation's mission forward as it celebrates 50 years of impact in 2026. From her landmark work at the Brennan Center defending the right to vote, to her global advocacy with Human Rights Watch tackling global injustices. A proud Harrisburg, Pennsylvania native, graduate of Carnegie Mellon University and Howard University School of Law, and a former president of the Washington Bar Association. For her relentless pursuit of peace, equity, and justice, and her dedication to the dignity of all people, we celebrate the 2026 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Beacon of Justice and Equity Award honoree, Nicole Austin Hillary.
So our final award goes to a woman leading the charge for Black excellence and policy at the highest levels. Here is the president and CEO of the CBCF Foundation, Nicole Austin Hillary.
Thank you so much, Ebony Riley, for being a representative of what true sisterhood looks like and what it means. I want to thank Reverend Sharpton and the King family, the board of directors for the National Action Network, for this honor and privilege, not just on behalf of myself, but on behalf of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. Now, I know I'm the last awardee, and that's a hard spot to be in, and it's a hard spot to be in to come after Donna Brazil. But I'm going to ask you all to give me your attention just for a few more minutes, because this award is not just about me. This award is about little girls like me. I want to tell you that more than 30 years ago, on this very holiday, when I was an undergraduate student at Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I skipped classes that day. Because even though the King holiday had become a national holiday in 1986, the board of directors at Carnegie Mellon saw fit to say we still needed to go to classes that day, and that we did not get that day to honor and recognize Dr. King. Well, like you, Donna, I grew up with a big mouth that my 8th grade English teacher said I should grow up and use for good, and that's what I was doing at Carnegie Mellon. And I happened to be the president of the Black Student Union at that time. And I told everybody, I know the administration said, we've got to go to class that day, but you know we're not going to class that day. We are going to march, and we are going to stand around the flagpole on the quad at Carnegie Mellon University, and it is going to be below 15 degrees in Pittsburgh in January. But we are going to be there because Dr. King taught us and stood for righteousness and justice. And there was no way that we could honor our culture, our people, and what we believe to be democracy if we did not stand up for the same things. And so it is fitting that on that day, I dedicated myself, my life, along with all of the other students who stood with me, many of whom looked like me, but many of whom didn't, but who understood that if we believed in a country that gave us promises to fulfill and that had to be fulfilled, that we all had to stand up there that day. And I've dedicated my life to doing just that. I've dedicated my life to being a civil and human rights lawyer, not because it's some glamorous, sexy thing, but because if you believe that everyone deserves an opportunity, if you believe that everyone, regardless of where they grew up, what they look like, what their name is, what their mother and father do, if you believe that they deserve every opportunity like every other person in this country, then you have to do this work. It is not just something you do, it is what you are and who you are. And that is who and what I am. Now, I am so honored and privileged to serve in the role that I serve in at the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation because those prescient members of the Congressional Black Caucus who saw fit to create that foundation believed in little girls like me. They knew that in the early 1970s, when we were created, and that was in 1976, we are about to celebrate our 50th anniversary this year of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. They knew that in order for little black girls like me, from the capital of Pennsylvania, Harrisburg, not Philadelphia, who grew up a PK, not a preacher's kid, but a project kid, all right? They knew that little girls like me needed an opportunity, that if we wanted to be like Donna Brazil and come to Washington and make a difference and be change makers, that we had to have opportunities for internships and scholarships, and that our race and the fact that we grew up in the projects and the fact that we had single parents, that none of that should make a difference. That's why they created the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. And in just this past year alone, we awarded more than 150 internships and fellowships. In just this past year alone, we awarded over $1 million in scholarships so that young people, regardless of economics, could pursue their dreams. And in this past year alone, we published over 70 pieces of policy documents so that communities could be armed with information, because they've got to go to the polls, like you heard Mr. Holder say. Everyone has to vote, but they also have to have information. We want to make sure that they are empowered with that information, so we publish policy so that they don't have to listen to us, but so that they can have information at their fingertips and be the change makers they want to see in their own communities. That's what Dr. King stood for. That's what he wanted for all of us. When you talk about equity and justice, it is about ensuring that the young people that we give those scholarships and internships to can do whatever it is they want to do, whether they want to grow up and own a beautiful grand hotel, or whether they want to be the next president of these United States, the head of the United Nations, whatever their dreams are that they want, we want to make it possible. And it is because of those prescient members of the Congressional Black Caucus, and it is because of the members of the Congressional Black Caucus that we have right now who are leading us, that we are able to do this. And it is because of you, because you stand by us and continue to stand by us, even though there are those who say that it is not cool any longer to invest in young people, that it is not cool anymore to invest in young people who didn't come from fancy homes and go to fancy schools and whose parents have fancy titles behind them. But we say, no, 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 no. We will be here. We will stand here. We will stand up just like Dr. King taught us, and we will make a way possible for all of these young people. That is how this country, this democracy will go on. You heard Ms. Johnson say that it's not about us, it's about this next generation. That is what we invest in at the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, the next generation of warriors. That is our job and our obligation, to make sure that they can do everything that we believe it is possible for them to do. Now, I want to tell you, just like we invest in those young warriors, I had somebody who invested in me from the beginning. and that was my mother. She was a single parent who raised her daughter, this little brown girl in the projects in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, single-handedly. And when I said to her, Mom, I want to grow up and be a civil and human rights attorney, do you know what she said to me? We're going to get it done. I am dedicating this award today to my mother. My mother died at the beginning of December, right before Christmas. But I know her spirit is here with me today. Her birthday is this coming Thursday. And when I got the letter about this award, I said, wonderful, we are going to start off Mom's birthday week celebrating on Dr. King's holiday. But even though she is not physically here, not only is her spirit here, but so is her lesson to me and the lesson that I'm passing on to you. The one thing that my mother never told me was this, and it's a powerful word that has the power to either uplift or to bring down. She never told me no. When I called her from Carnegie Mellon and said, Mom, we're laying in the streets tomorrow because one of the white fraternities is still using the Confederate flag as their symbol, she didn't say, Nikki, don't do that. No. What she said was, now you know I have a good state government job. I cannot afford to come to Pittsburgh to get you out of jail. Do what you have to do. Just don't get arrested because I want you to keep doing what you have to do. That was who she was and what she told me. She never told me no. That was empowerment. And that is how we have to empower this next generation, by never telling them no. Like young Eric, never telling him, no, you can't do this because somebody said you weren't smart enough, good enough, rich enough. That is the beauty of equity and justice, and that is what Dr. King taught us. And I want to leave you with this lastly. Not only is it important to have warriors like my mother behind you, it is important to have warriors like each of you in this room. I want to thank my husband and my family who are here with me today, who are standing in Mom's stead. I want to thank my Congressional Black Caucus team who is here, my Congressional Black Caucus Foundation team who is here. And I want to thank all of you because it is working together that we will make a difference. And so I'm leaving you with these final words, and these are not mine, these are Dr. King's. In 1964, when Dr. King accepted the Nobel Peace Prize, he said in his speech, there are two kinds of people. There are the people who believe in isness and the people who believe in oughtness. The people who believe in isness are the ones who think, well, this is the way it is. We can't do anything about it. This is just how we have to live. We have to accept it. But Dr. King said the people who believe in oughtness are the people who believe in what should be, what justice should be, what fairness should be, the people who believe that regardless of whatever challenges we are dealing with in this country, in this world, that those who believe in oughtness know that together, working collaboratively, believing in community, believing in one another, never telling our young people no, investing in our communities, investing in our leaders, and moving forward regardless of the challenges, we know that oughtness will rule the day. So I challenge all of you before you walk out of this room, when you go to the bathrooms and look at yourselves, when you powder your noses and look at yourselves in the mirror, when you look at each other as you walk out of this room, remind yourselves that we together, the young people that we are investing at the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, all of the leaders who are here in this room, we are the people of oughtness, because we know that together, everything we believe in and justice will prevail. Oughtness is what Dr. King believed in, and oughtness is what we who believe in freedom fight for. Thank you so much for this award, and thank you for this day.
Before we close, give us a few more minutes. If everyone could hold for a few more minutes. Thank you so much. That was not the closing remarks. What we want to do next is two things. One, we want to give our, excuse me if I could have your attention in the room, please. Thank you. If you can sit for a few more minutes, we'll be closing shortly. But we want to give our Youth Award honoree a 3-minute remark opportunity to speak. And then we're going to move to a 2 minutes of remarks from our title sponsor, and then we will be closing. We don't want to make this a lunch. Thank you so much, and we're going to move the program on time for the next 5 minutes to close. So we're going to bring up Mr. Eric Carpenter Grantham, our Youth Award honoree. You heard from his mother, Linda, earlier, but we want to hear from him.
Good morning, everyone. It is a privilege and an honor to receive this award. I would like to thank my God for blessing me with this amazing opportunity. Thank you, Reverend Al Sharpton, Mr. and Mrs. King, and the National Action Network Board of Directors and the DC National Action Network Bureau, and Ms. Ebony Riley for this amazing award. I am 21 years old, and I am highly functioning autistic. A conversation with my mother, driven by concern for my safety, that led me to create Eric's ID law. My mother felt if I ever be stopped by law enforcement, I may not be able to respond and the police will expect. God had blessed me with the idea to create a butterfly symbol to be placed on the IDs for people like me and others who have invisible disabilities, like autism, mental health, hearing impaired, and all hidden disability. So if we be stopped by law enforcement, we can be safe. The butterfly symbol represents hope, peace, freedom, and change. My mother and I met with our Maryland State Senator, Will C. Smith, who agreed to write the bill for Eric's ID law. Our sponsors for the bill for Eric's ID law for the Maryland House of Delegates were Delegate Janelle Wilkins and Delegate Kim Taylor. We were blessed to receive over 48 extra delegates and 13 extra senators to co-sponsor Eric's ID law, including the Senate President, Mr. Bill Ferguson. Our Maryland State Governor, Wes Moore, signed the bill into law on May 13, 2025. It became effective on October 1st, 2025. As of today, 10,220 murders have gotten the butterfly symbol on their IDs. Thank you. Since being invited on The View, like my mom said, with Ms. Whoopi Goldberg and the Sherry Shepherd Show, where we have received over 1 million views and comments to make a national law, we are now meeting with Congress to make this a federal law so that all people with invisible disabilities are safe. It is because of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that he fought for the rights of others who did not know how to use their voices, that have been inspired by me to fight for people like myself with hidden disabilities. I want to thank God for using me and my mom to his divine assignment. Thank you, God, for being with us through this whole journey for the last 2 years. This journey has not been easy, but we did it, and the journey still go on. Because you say in Proverbs 21:31, the horse is made ready for the day of battle, but the victory belongs to the Lord. In closing, my mom always told me this quote, I was created to stand out, not to fit in. Thank you, Mom, for being my #1 supporter. I love you, and thank you for telling me I can become whoever I want to be in life. Thank you, Mom, for everything. Please support Eric's ID law as we move this mission forward nationally so that all people with invisible disabilities are safe. I want to thank my mom, Governor Wes Moore, his beautiful mother, Ma'am Joy Moore, Mayor Brandon Scott, Senator Will C. Smith, Delegate Janelle Wilkins, Delegate Kim Taylor, Ms. Deborah Martin, Ms. Vonda Wilkins from CWA, and Dr. Kashina A. Qualls, and my aunties Karen Hentfield and Michelle Holly, excuse me, sorry, auntie. And being a person with autism, I want the disability community to know that this law was created for you and for me to feel safe and have a voice. Thank you all, and God bless you, and please support Eric's ID law. Thank you.
As he goes to his seat, continue to give your applause. We're now going to bring up our Northeast Regional Director and a board member of our board of the National Board of Directors, Reverend Steffi Bartley, to close us out.
Right before we leave, can you give yourselves a hand? I want to take this moment and to really thank all of our partners, our sponsors that made this day possible. Erica is going to come up and represent all of you, but we just want to say on behalf of Reverend Al Sharpton and the National Action Network, the work that you do, the partnership that you give us, make this day possible. Give yourselves another hand as we have Erica come up and speak on behalf of all of our partners.
Is anybody else having a good time fellowshipping today? Isn't this a wonderful room? Y'all can clap, isn't it a good room? I see so many friends and people I know here, so I feel very much at home. In my Southern tradition, the pastor said, I won't be before you long. Good morning. Again, my name is Erica Miles, and I'm an executive director at Wells Fargo. And I am so glad to join you today for today's celebration of Dr. King's birthday and holiday. It's a day that holds deep personal significance for me because of Dr. King's enduring legacy of justice and equality, which continues to inspire my work and commitment to our community. My role at Wells Fargo includes managing relationships with external partners, including the National Action Network. Say somebody is still out here helping. Look at your neighbor and tell them somebody. Our partnership has included support for the work that National Action Network focuses on in the communities we both serve. I'm sure many of you recall that one of Dr. King's last endeavors was the creation of the Poor People's Campaign. He recognized the need for a stronger focus on the financial health of the community. We heard Reverend Sharpton mention that earlier. Wells Fargo's partnership with the National Action Network creates opportunities to continue the work and focus on financial health, such as increasing opportunities for home ownership and the number of asset managers who handle pension funds. Reverend Sharpton's unwavering commitment to focusing on these two important areas is one example of the work we, Wells Fargo, have collaborated on and hope to continue in the future. My personal connection, y'all remember I said it was personal, to Dr. King's legacy began in my hometown of Memphis, Tennessee. We got any Tennessee or Southern folk in the house today? Before there was a National Civil Rights Museum or a holiday honoring Dr. King, my mother would take us down to the Lorraine Motel where he was slain so we could honor him with our own moment of silence. Then we would take a few minutes to call out the names of Dr. King and other ancestors near and far who made the ultimate sacrifice for justice and freedom. As a little girl standing in that solemn space with my family year after year, I began to develop an understanding of the weight of sacrifice and enduring importance of Dr. King's fighting for equality. Well, it's a full circle moment to work for a company that supports organizations like the National Action Network who continue the work of financial access for all. Wells Fargo celebrates today's honorees. Could we all just give them all one more round of applause for all their good work? We know he has moved on to the next opportunity, but we also celebrate Reverend Sharpton, the King family, and all who are connected to the National Action Network who furthered Dr. King's legacy. And again, congratulations to all, and may Dr. King's dream live on. Thanks for having us.
So should we all stand? I just want to remind you, those of you that are looking for photos for today's event, you can just use the QR code and you can see the pictures of your lovely self. Again, on behalf of the National Action Network, our founding president and our chairman, Franklin Richardson, and our board of directors, we want to say thank you for making this day possible. Will you give yourselves a hand? God bless you. Have a wonderful day.